Ladies and gentlemen, life is suffering. This is an undeniable truth, and the sooner we accept it, the stronger we become. The road ahead is not smooth. It is littered with obstacles, heartbreak, and failure. But here's the thing, within that suffering lies the key to your growth. You don't get stronger by avoiding pain. You don't become wiser by running from hardship. The painful lessons, the ones that shake you to your core, those are the lessons that shape you. They tear apart who you were so you can become who you are meant to be. So today I'm here to tell you, do not shy away from the struggle. Do not resist the discomfort. Instead, embrace it, lean into it, because within that pain lies your transformation. Pain is an unavoidable part of the human experience. No matter who you are, where you come from, or how much you try to shield yourself from hardship, pain will find its way into your life. It may arrive in the form of loss, failure, betrayal, or disappointment. It may come suddenly, shattering your expectations in an instant, or it may creep in slowly, eroding your sense of stability over time. But pain itself is not the enemy. It is simply a fact of existence, something as natural as the changing of the seasons or the setting of the sun. The real challenge lies not in avoiding pain, because that is impossible, but in deciding what to do with it when it arrives. Suffering, on the other hand, is a state of being. It is not simply the experience of pain, but the interpretation of it, the meaning we attach to it, and the way we allow it to shape us. Two people can endure the same hardship and emerge from it in completely different ways. One may be broken, consumed by resentment, bitterness, and despair, while the other may become stronger, wiser, and more resilient. The difference is not in what happened to them, but in how they responded. Pain is a signal, a teacher, a guide. It strips away illusion and forces us to confront reality. It exposes the gaps in our understanding, the weaknesses in our character, the illusions we cling to in order to feel safe. It demands that we change, that we grow, that we evolve. But suffering arises when we resist this process, when we fight against the lessons pain is trying to teach us. We suffer when we refuse to accept reality as it is, and instead insist that it should be different. We suffer when we cling to the past, wishing things had gone another way, replaying events in our minds as if we could will them into changing. The mind has a tendency to amplify pain when we resist it. When we dwell on our suffering, we reinforce it. We create narratives around it, telling ourselves that we are victims, that life is unfair, that we are being punished. These thoughts become patterns, and patterns become identities. Before long, we are not just experiencing pain, we are living inside of it, defining ourselves by it, and carrying it forward into every new experience we have. Pain in its rawest form is just a sensation. It comes and it goes like waves in the ocean. But suffering is what happens when we attach to it, when we hold on to it and refuse to let it pass through us. This is why two people can face identical hardships but walk away with completely different perspectives. One sees themselves as a victim of circumstances doomed to suffer indefinitely, while the other uses the pain as fuel to push forward, to grow, to become something greater than they were before. Many people spend their lives trying to avoid pain, believing if they can just control their circumstances, they can escape suffering. They build walls around themselves, avoiding risks, staying within their comfort zones, and refusing to engage with anything that might lead to discomfort. But this avoidance only leads to a different kind of suffering, the suffering of stagnation, of wasted potential, of a life half-lived. The paradox is that in trying to avoid pain, they create even more of it. By refusing to face their fears, their failures, and their struggles, they remain trapped in a cycle of fear and limitation. Pain is not the problem. It is how we choose to relate to it that matters. It is not something to be feared or resented, but something to be understood and worked with. It is a messenger revealing what needs to be changed, what needs to be let go of, and what needs to be learned. When we see pain as an inevitable part of growth rather than an enemy to be defeated, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. Pain is a test of character. It shows us who we truly are when everything is stripped away. It forces us to confront our weaknesses, our insecurities, our deepest fears. It is in these moments of struggle that we discover what we are truly made of. Some people crumble under the weight of their pain, allowing it to define them and dictate their future. Others take that same pain and use it as a catalyst for transformation. They face it head on, learn from it, and emerge from the fire stronger than before. There is a great deal of power in realizing that pain itself is not the enemy. It is a natural part of existence, an unavoidable reality that every human being must face. The true challenge is in how we respond to it. We can either resist it, clinging to our suffering and allowing it to consume us, or we can accept it, learn from it, and allow it to shape us into something greater than we were before. Adversity is an unavoidable force in life, something that everyone will encounter at some point, regardless of their background, status, or efforts to avoid it. Say, it comes in many forms: personal failure, loss, rejection, betrayal, illness, or unforeseen obstacles that threaten to derail everything we have worked for. When adversity strikes, it feels overwhelming, like a force pressing down on us, challenging our strength and shaking our sense of stability. In those moments, it is easy to feel powerless, as though we are at the mercy of circumstances beyond our control. But adversity does not just expose hardship. It reveals something far more important. It reveals the core of who we are. When everything is going well, it is easy to believe that we are strong. It is easy to convince ourselves that we have discipline, resilience, and character. But these qualities are not truly tested in moments of comfort. It is only when we are faced with difficulty, with real struggle, that we see what we are made of. The truth is, many people are untested. They have never been pushed to their limits, never been forced to confront the deeper aspects of themselves. And so when adversity arrives, it strips away the illusions they have built about their own strength. It exposes weaknesses that were previously hidden. It reveals fears that were buried under layers of routine and security. It brings forth the rawest version of who we are, leaving us with a choice. Either collapse under the weight of our struggles or rise to meet them with everything we have. Adversity is an instructor unlike any other. It does not coddle, it does not comfort, and it does not offer easy answers. Instead, it forces us to confront our limitations and either break through them or be defined by them. It is in moments of hardship that we learn the most about ourselves, what we can endure, what truly matters to us, and what we are willing to fight for. Many people spend their lives avoiding adversity, hoping to navigate through life without having to endure significant hardship. But the problem with this approach is that it leaves them unprepared when difficulty inevitably arrives. They have never been forced to develop resilience, never had to push through pain, and so when life throws something difficult their way, they crumble under the weight of it. Resilience is not something people are born with. It is something that is built. It is forged in moments of struggle when we feel as though we have nothing left to give, and yet we find a way to move forward. It is developed through repeated encounters with difficulty, each time forcing us to grow stronger, to adapt, and to push beyond what we once thought possible. Every challenge we face is an opportunity to build this strength, to fortify our minds and our spirits. The people who achieve the greatest things in life are not the ones who never face adversity, but the ones who refuse to be broken by it. They take every setback, every failure, every painful lesson and use it as fuel to become stronger. Hardship has a way of clarifying our priorities. When we are comfortable, it is easy to be distracted, to drift through life without clear sense of purpose. But when we are faced with real struggle, the unnecessary falls away. We are forced to focus on what truly matters, to make decisions based not on convenience, but on necessity. It is through these experiences that we learn what we are willing to fight for, what we truly value, and what is worth enduring pain for. Adversity forces us to question ourselves. Do we have what it takes to keep going? Or will we let difficulty define us? These are the moments that separate those who succeed from those who give up. There is a certain kind of strength that only comes from suffering. It cannot be learned in books, it cannot be taught in a classroom, and it cannot be inherited. And it must be earned, built through experience, through hardship, through the process of facing adversity head on and refusing to be defeated by it. This strength is not just physical or intellectual. It is a deep internal resilience, a belief that no matter how difficult things become, we have the ability to endure, to adapt, and to overcome. It is the realization that no obstacle is insurmountable, that no amount of failure is final unless we allow it to be. The world does not reward those who shrink in the face of adversity. It rewards those who refuse to back down. Every great achievement, every significant breakthrough, every story of triumph is built upon a foundation of struggle. The strongest people, the most capable leaders, and the most accomplished individuals are not the ones who have had the easiest paths, but the ones who have faced hardship, adapted, and emerged stronger on the other side. It is in the crucible of adversity that true strength is forged. Pain is an unavoidable part of life, yet many people spend their entire existence trying to outrun it. They distract themselves, avoid difficult conversations, suppress emotions, and build walls around their hearts in an attempt to escape discomfort. But the reality is, the more you run from pain, the more power you give it. It does not disappear simply because you refuse to face it. Instead, it lingers in the background, growing stronger, shaping your actions in ways you do not even realize. What you resist persists. The lessons that pain is trying to teach you will not simply vanish because you choose to ignore them. They will return again and again, often in more intense forms, until you finally confront them. Avoidance is a temporary escape, not a solution of a solution. People run from pain in different ways. Some bury themselves in work, hoping that if they stay busy enough, they will not have time to feel. Others numb themselves with distractions, losing themselves in entertainment, social media, or substances. Some avoid relationships, afraid of the vulnerability that comes with deep connections. And yet, despite these efforts, the pain remains. It manifests in anxiety and stress, in a nagging sense of dissatisfaction that never truly goes away. The problem with running from pain is that it does not just disappear. It festers, waiting for the moment when you are least prepared to face it. Growth does not come from avoidance. It comes from confrontation, from standing face to face with the things that scare you, that break you, that make you uncomfortable. Running from pain only prolongs the inevitable. If you refuse to face your fears today, you will have to face them tomorrow and the day after that until you finally acknowledge them. The sooner you confront your struggles, the sooner you can begin to grow beyond them. Pain is not your enemy. It is a messenger. It is trying to show you something, to teach you something, to make you stronger in ways you cannot yet see. When you ignore it, you miss the lesson, and the same challenges continue to appear in your life again and again until you are finally ready to learn. Avoidance also creates a cycle of fear. The more you run from pain, the more terrifying it becomes. You convince yourself that you are not strong enough to face it, that if you were to stop running, it would consume you. But this is an illusion. The fear of pain is often worse than the pain itself. The mind amplifies what is avoided, making it seem larger and more threatening than it actually is. The reality is that when you finally turn to face your pain, you often realize that it is not as unbearable as you thought. The anticipation of suffering is often greater than the suffering itself. The people who grow the most, who achieve the most, who develop true strength are not the ones who avoid pain, but the ones who embrace it. They understand that pain is a necessary part of progress, that discomfort is the price of growth. They do not run from failure, they study it. They do not suppress their emotions, they process them. They do not avoid difficult conversations. They face them head on. This is not because they enjoy suffering, but because they recognize that avoiding it only leads to Stagnation. Running from pain means running from opportunity, from transformation, from the very experiences that have the power to shape you into the person you were meant to become. When you refuse to face pain, you also limit your capacity for joy. The same walls that keep out suffering also keep out happiness, love, and fulfillment. You cannot selectively numb your emotions. When you shut out pain, you shut out everything else as well. True resilience is not about avoiding hardship. It is about developing the ability to endure it, to move through it, and to come out stronger on the other side. Life is not meant to be a constant state of comfort. It is meant to challenge you, to push you, to force you to evolve. Every time you choose to confront your struggles rather than run from them, you gain power over them. There is freedom in facing what you fear. The moment you stop running, you take back control. The pain no longer dictates your choices, no longer lingers in the background, controlling your decisions. Instead of being a prisoner to avoidance, you become the master of your own growth. You begin to see pain for what it truly is, not an enemy, but a teacher. Every hardship, every struggle, every moment of discomfort is an opportunity to build resilience, to gain wisdom, to become stronger than you were before. Running from pain may seem like the easier choice in the moment, but in the long run, it only leads to more suffering. The real strength lies in standing still and turning to face your struggles, and in refusing to let them define you. Growth is not a product of comfort. It is not found in the easy moments, in the times when everything is going smoothly. Comfort creates stagnation, a false sense of security that tricks people into believing they are making progress when in reality, they are standing still. The human mind and body are designed to adapt, to strengthen under pressure, to improve when faced with challenges. Staniel. But when there is no pressure, no resistance, no discomfort, there is also no real progress. People often seek comfort as their primary goal, believing that if they can eliminate struggle from their lives, they will be happy. But what they fail to realize is that the absence of challenge leads to the absence of growth. When things are easy, there is no need to push forward, no reason to improve, no urgency to develop new skills or perspectives. So this is why so many people remain stuck, repeating the same patterns, living the same routines, never becoming anything more than what they already are. They are trapped in a cycle of comfort, mistaking it for fulfillment. Discomfort is the catalyst for change. It forces action, compels adaptation, and demands growth. When people experience struggle, they are confronted with two choices: either adapt and grow stronger, or resist and remain the same. The most successful and resilient individuals are not those who have avoided discomfort, but those who have embraced it. They see challenges not as threats, but as opportunities. They understand that the struggle is necessary, that without it, they would never become more than they are today. Physical strength is built through resistance. When a person lifts weights, they are intentionally placing stress on their muscles, forcing them to break down and rebuild stronger. Without this resistance, muscles do not grow. The same principle applies to mental and emotional strength. When life presents difficulties, it is providing the necessary resistance for personal growth. Without obstacles, resilience cannot be developed. Without challenges, problem-solving skills remain weak. Without struggle, the capacity to endure hardship remains underdeveloped. The only way to build true strength is to face discomfort head-on, to push through it rather than retreat from it. Avoiding discomfort leads to a life of mediocrity. Those who refuse to engage with difficult situations, who seek only what is easy and convenient, end up living lives devoid of deep meaning or accomplishment. They never test their true potential, never push beyond their perceived limits, never experience the satisfaction that comes from overcoming something difficult. They become trapped in fear. Fear of failure, fear of pain, fear of uncertainty. And in that fear, they lose the chance to become something greater than they were before. The greatest achievements in history did not come from comfort. They came from struggle, from effort, from individuals willing to endure hardship for the sake of something greater. Every great leader, every innovator, every artist, every athlete who has ever accomplished something extraordinary has done so because they were willing to embrace discomfort. They understood that the price of greatness is struggle. They did not run from difficulty. They sought it out, knowing that it was the only path to true mastery. The ability to sit with discomfort, to accept it rather than fight against it, is a skill that must be developed. Most people instinctively try to escape discomfort as quickly as possible, seeking distractions, avoiding difficult conversations, or numbing themselves with temporary pleasures. But those who have learned to endure discomfort without running from it possess an incredible advantage. They can remain calm in the face of stress, they can handle setbacks without losing focus, and they can push forward even when every part of them wants to stop. Failure, rejection, uncertainty, these are not signs that something is wrong. They are signs that growth is occurring. The discomfort that accompanies them is a signal that progress is being made. Those who recognize this do not allow momentary discomfort to deter them. Instead, they lean into it, understanding that every difficult moment is shaping them, refining them, making them stronger. They see struggle as an essential part of the process, not as something to be avoided, but as something to be embraced. A person's ability to grow is directly tied to their willingness to endure discomfort. The more they are willing to stretch beyond their comfort zone, the more they will develop. The key is not to eliminate struggle, but to change the way it is perceived. Struggle is not an obstacle, it is a teacher. It is through difficulty that resilience is built, through failure that wisdom is gained, and through discomfort that true transformation occurs. Those who understand this do not resist struggle, they welcome it, knowing that it is the only way forward. Failure is one of the most misunderstood aspects of life. People fear it, avoid it, and see it as a reflection of their inadequacy. They believe that failure is a sign they are not good enough, that they lack the talent, intelligence, or capability to succeed. But this perception is fundamentally flawed. Failure is not a measure of worth. It is a necessary step in the process of growth. No one who has ever accomplished anything meaningful has done so without first encountering failure. It is not the opposite of success, but a prerequisite for it. The fear of failure keeps people from even trying. They hesitate, second-guess themselves, and stay trapped in inaction because they are terrified of what failure might mean. But in doing so, they guarantee stagnation. They never take the risks necessary for growth, never push themselves beyond their perceived limits, never develop the resilience that comes from facing setbacks head-on. The avoidance of failure is in itself the greatest failure of all because it ensures that no progress is ever made. When a child learns to walk, they do not succeed on the first attempt. They stumble, fall, and fail repeatedly. But with each failure, they adjust, learn, and try again until they eventually succeed. No one would look at a child who falls while learning to walk and call them a failure. We understand that falling is part of the learning process, and yet, as we grow older, we forget this simple truth. We begin to see failure as something shameful, something to be avoided at all costs, rather than what it truly is. A natural and necessary part of learning. The most successful people in the world have failed more times than most people have even tried. They did not reach success because they avoided failure. They reached success because they refused to let failure stop them. They understood that every setback contained a lesson, every mistake was an opportunity for growth, and every failure was a stepping stone toward mastery. They did not allow their failures to define them. They used them as fuel to push forward, to improve, to become better than they were before. Resilience is not developed in comfort. It is built through struggle, through setbacks, through the process of failing and rising again. The ability to endure failure without losing momentum is what separates those who achieve great things from those who remain stuck. The difference is not intelligence, talent, or luck. It is persistence. It is the willingness to fail, to learn, and to keep going despite the difficulties. It is the ability to reframe failure not as an endpoint, but as a beginning, as an opportunity to gain new insights, refine strategies, and develop the strength to withstand future challenges. People often view failure as a dead end. It's not. It is a redirection, a signal that something needs to change, whether it is an approach, a mindset, or a skill set. Those who embrace failure with curiosity rather than fear see it for what it truly is, a tool for refinement. They analyze what went wrong, adjust their approach, and try again with a greater understanding of what is required for success. Every failure carries with it a lesson, and now those who are willing to learn from their failures become wiser, sharper, and more capable over time. Failure also exposes character. It reveals how people respond under pressure, whether they retreat into self-doubt or rise with renewed determination. Many people allow failure to shatter their confidence, convincing themselves that they are not capable or worthy of success. But those who succeed are the ones who use failure to build confidence rather than destroy it. They recognize that failure is not a reflection of who they are. It is simply feedback, a necessary part of the learning process that guides them toward improvement. The world does not reward those who never fail. It rewards those who fail and keep going. It rewards those who are willing to endure rejection, setbacks, and obstacles without losing sight of their goals. Every great innovator, athlete, entrepreneur, and artist has faced failure. The difference between those who succeed and those who do not is that successful people do not allow failure to break them. They allow it to shape them. They take the lessons, refine their strategies, and move forward with greater clarity and determination. Failure is unavoidable. No matter how talented, intelligent, or prepared a person is, they will encounter failure at some point. The question is not whether failure will happen, it is how they will respond when it does. Those who fear failure and avoid it at all costs will never reach their full potential. But those who embrace it, learn from it, and continue forward despite it will grow in ways they never imagined. The past is an undeniable force in shaping who we are. It holds our memories, our experiences, our triumphs, and our failures. It is the foundation upon which our present self stands. And yet for many, it is also a prison. People carry their past like a heavy weight, allowing old wounds, mistakes, and regrets to dictate their present actions and future potential. They relive painful moments, replay conversations in their minds, and remain trapped in cycles of self-blame or resentment. But the past, no matter how painful, does not have to be a burden. It can be a teacher, a guide, and a source of strength if we learn how to use it properly. Dwelling on the past in a way that fosters regret or resentment is destructive. It saps energy, creates anxiety, and prevents forward momentum. People often trap themselves in what ifs. What if I had made a different choice? What if I had spoken up? What if I had been stronger? These thoughts create a loop of self-recrimination, but they do nothing to change reality. The past is fixed. It cannot be rewritten. The only thing that can be controlled is how one responds to it, what lessons are extracted from it, and how those lessons are applied to the present and the future. Painful experiences often contain the most valuable lessons. Every failure, every heartbreak, every betrayal, and every disappointment carries a message. These experiences expose weaknesses that need to be strengthened, patterns that need to be broken, and truths that need to be accepted. But recognizing these lessons requires a shift in perspective. Instead of seeing past pain as something that should not have happened, it must be reframed as something that was necessary for growth. The greatest wisdom often comes from the hardest moments, from the situations that force deep introspection and personal evolution. Many people refuse to let go of past pain because they believe doing so means excusing the wrongs done to them. They equate letting go with forgetting or forgiving too easily. But letting go does not mean erasing the past. It means releasing its grip on the present. It means acknowledging what happened, learning from it, and deciding not to let it define the future. Carrying resentment, anger, or regret does nothing to change the past, but it does affect the present. It clouds judgment, drains energy, and creates unnecessary suffering. True strength comes from the ability to extract wisdom from pain while refusing to let that pain dictate one's life. Growth requires self-examination. Looking back at past mistakes is uncomfortable. It forces confrontation with moments of weakness, ignorance, or poor judgment. Avoiding these reflections does not make them disappear. It only allows them to repeat in different forms. Those who refuse to acknowledge their past mistakes often find themselves making the same errors repeatedly, caught in cycles they cannot escape. The key to breaking free is not avoidance, but analysis, asking hard questions, facing uncomfortable truths, and using those insights to make better choices moving forward. The past should be used as a tool, not as a chain. It should inform decisions, provide perspective, and serve as a reminder of progress. Every person has moments they regret, but those moments do not define them. What defines a person is what they choose to do with those experiences, whether they allow them to serve as motivation for growth or as excuses for stagnation. The past can be a teacher offering lessons that, if heeded, prevent future suffering. It is not something to be feared or resented. It is something to be understood and integrated into a larger narrative of resilience. One of the most empowering realizations a person can have is that they are not their past growth. They are not defined by their worst moments, their failures, or their missteps. The past is a collection of experiences, but identity is shaped by how one responds to those experiences. Some of the most successful, wise, and strong individuals are those who have endured immense hardship and used it to fuel their growth. They have taken what was meant to break them and turned it into the foundation of their strength. Freedom from the past does not come from erasing it, nor does it come from pretending it did not happen. It comes from owning it, acknowledging every part of it, taking responsibility where necessary, and deciding that it will not be an obstacle to growth. Strength is built in the moment a person chooses to stop being a prisoner of what has already happened and instead use it as a stepping stone toward what is possible. Every person has the power to redefine themselves, to take the lessons of their past and apply them in a way that creates a better, stronger, and wiser future.